In the small river town of Oron, there lived a woman named Mrs Bassey, a gentle soul of 32 years. Her smile could light up the darkest night, and her laughter, like music, danced with the breeze. She lived in a modest home with her husband and their 7-year-old son, Imoh. Her husband, a fisherman, was the pride of the river. He knew the tides, the winds, and the language of the waters. Every morning, he'd kiss Mrs. Bassey's forehead, ruffles Imoh's hair, and say, "I will be back before the moon peaks." And he always did. Until one day, he didn't. That morning was just like any other. The sky wore a soft blue dress, and the river hummed its usual song. But that evening, dark clouds gathered. A storm struck, wild and angry. Boats were tossed like leaves. Many fishermen didn't return. Among them was Mrs. Bassey's husband. The village mourned, but none like Mrs. Bassey. Her heart shattered like a broken pot, and her cries echoed across the water. Imoh, too young to understand the weight of death, held his mother's hands tightly. They waited by the river bank for days, but nobody was found, just an empty boat. Then came the real storm. Her husband's brothers, led by Uncle Edet, a man of 54, with a hard face and harder heart, came knocking. "You have no place here anymore," he said coldly. "This house belongs to our brother, and now that he is gone, it belongs to us." Mrs. Bassey stared at them, disbelief choking her voice. They gave her one night to live, and just like that, she became a widow and homeless. Before dawn, Mrs. Bassey wrapped her few belongings in an old wrapper, tied Imoh to her back, and stepped into the chilly morning air. The house that once echoed with laughter now stood silent, its door shut behind her like a final goodbye. She walked down the dusty road, her feet aching, her heart heavier than any load she had ever carried. Imoh was asleep, unaware of the new life ahead, one filled with questions, fears, and no clear answers. The city of Uyo was far from the calm rivers of Oron. It was loud, fast, and full of strangers, but Mrs. Bassey kept walking. By the time the sun touched the sky, they had reached the outskirts. With the little money she had hidden in a wrapper, she rented a tiny one-room apartment in a rundown building. The walls were cracked, the roof leaked, but it was shelter. It was hers. Each morning, she left Imoh with an old neighbor and went out in search of work. She swept floors, washed clothes, carried heavy loads in the market. She didn't mind. Every naira she earned went for food and Imoh's school fees. Some days, she cried into her pillow, but never in front of Imoh. She wanted him to believe that everything would be fine, that she was strong, that they were safe. Imoh, bright and curious, started school with second-hand books and oversized uniforms, but he smiled. He told his mother, "One day I will be a big man and you'll never have to work again." His words gave her strength, more than food, more than rest. In a world that had taken so much from her, she still had one thing: hope. Life in the city moved fast, too fast for some, but Mrs. Bassey adjusted like a tree bending with the wind. She woke before the roosters, her hand raw from scrubbing, her back sore from lifting, but she never complained. Her one joy was watching Imoh grow. The boy was quick with his numbers, even quicker with his smile. He came home from school with stories of aunts that matched the lines, of friends who brought yam to share, of a teacher who smelled like chalk and pepper soup. Mrs. Bassey listened, laughed, and sometimes cried quietly when he wasn't looking. In time, the people around them noticed. One woman, a nurse, named Imoh, lived 2 doors down. At 27, she was sharp, kind, and always had a bowl of soup or some advice to spare. "You are strong, Mrs. Bassey," she said one day, handing a small bag of rice. "But even strong women need rest." They became friends. Imoh helped with medicine when Imoh had fevers. She braided Mrs. Bassey's hair on quiet Sundays. She even taught Imoh big words like ambition and perseverance. Imoh listened wide-eyed. One day, he told Nurse Imoh, "I want to be a doctor." Her eyes lit up. "Then you must work hard. The world needs kind doctors." And so he did. His grades climbed like a goat chasing mangoes. He read by candlelight. He asked questions that made grown men pause. And through it all, Mrs. Bassey watched, proud and grateful. She still cleaned houses, still walked with tired feet, but her heart began to beat with something new, not just hope, purpose. She was planting seed in dry soil, and somehow they were starting to grow. Time moved on, little by little, like drops from a leaking roof. Imoh grew into a young man, sharp, respectful, and full of dreams. At 18, he gained admission to study medicine. When he brought the letter home, Mrs. Bassey danced and cried all at once. "God has remembered us," she said, hugging him tight. University was tough, but Imoh never backed down. He studied hard, worked part-time jobs, and leaned on scholarships and the support of Nurse Imoh, who by now had become family. 6 years later, Imoh graduated as a doctor. It was the proudest moment of Mrs. Bassey's life. She wore her finest wrapper that day and undulated until her voice cracked. Now working in a reputable hospital in Uyo, Imoh was respected for his kindness and calm hands. He carried himself with grace, but he never forgot where he came from. One stormy night, fate came knocking. A man was rushed into the emergency room after being hit by a speeding truck. He was unconscious, bleeding and in critical condition. The nurses scrambled. The man needed urgent spinal surgery, but the hospital had a strict policy: no treatment without an initial deposit. Then came the shock. The patient was Uncle Edet. Imoh froze. The same man who had thrown him and his mother out into the street? The same uncle who watched them suffer without flinching? When Mrs. Bassey heard the news, she rushed to the hospital. "Leave him," she said through clenched teeth. "Let him taste the pain he gave us."